are going to discuss the revision test paper of CA Intermediate Paper 2 Corporate and Other Laws. So इस वीडियो में we are going to discuss the MCQs, the multiple choice questions or case study based questions, and in the other video we will discuss the descriptive questions. Let's start with the first question. So the first question is this very long case study. Now what usually happens is students, they waste their time reading the entire case study. One tip which I would give here is always first read and analyze what is the required part of the question. Requirement क्या है question का, question आपसे क्या पूछ रहा है. So always start with what is required. Whether it is a practical subject or a theory subject, first look at what is the question asking. So first read what is the requirement. This case study also will solve in a similar manner. Now what usually happens is you have n number of information, n number of data given in the case study, and out of this data only a little data is what you will use to answer your questions. So instead of wasting time in reading the entire case study, let's try and answer the questions based on the case study without actually first reading the case study and first reading the questions and then trying and answering the questions. Let's have a look. So the first question is, when the shareholders demanded for increase in the rate of dividend, but since shareholders cannot increase the rate of dividend, what the board of directors have recommended, some of them walked out of the meeting hall. What shall be the consequences of it? So let me explain you what the question actually says. So there is a meeting which is going on, ठीक है, meeting चल रही है, and there are shareholders and this is the board. Now board declared dividend, but shareholders ये क्या बोलते हैं, we want a higher rate of dividend, we want you to declare, or rather we want you to increase the rate of dividend. Abhi, if you know or if you remember what you've studied, the shareholders cannot demand for an increase in the rate of dividend from the board of directors. So they were not successful in increasing the rate of dividend. So what these shareholders do, they walked out of the meeting. अभी आपने देखा होगा ना, ये जो रियलिटी शोज वगैरह चलते रहते हैं, एंड देयर वन कंटेस्टेंट ही और शी हैज सम आर्ग्यूमेंट और डज समथिंग एंड वॉक्स आउट ऑफ द शो स्टेटिंग दैट आई नो लॉन्गर वांट टू बी पार्ट ऑफ द शो. सिमिलरली यहाँ पे क्या हुआ, शेयर होल्डर्स, that is the members of the company, just because their demand of increasing the rate of dividend was not possible or they could not increase, some of them they walked out of the meeting. Now question क्या पूछ रहा है, question is asking us what shall be the consequences of shareholders walking out. Now let's have a look at what are the options. Says if even after boycott quorum is present. What is quorum? Quorum is the minimum number of members which shall be present in order to start the meeting. So even if after boycott quorum is present all the time during the course of general meeting and they've approved with majority, the rate recommended by the board shall be treated as approved. So what does this say? That even if after boycott there is quorum present during the entire time of the meeting and the members who are present in the meeting, they have approved the decision by majority, then the rate which is recommended by the board shall be treated as approved. सही आंसर लग रहा है ना ये तो. But let's wait, let's look at the other options and then reach on a conclusion. Let's look at option number B. Option B क्या बोल रहा है, members present at the beginning of the meeting shall remain present all the time during the general meeting to approve the agenda, else it will be treated nullified. Is there any such provision? No. So this cannot be the correct answer. Let's look at C. The approval of the dividend is an ordinary business resolution of the company. So if some of the members have boycotted the meeting, it will not affect even if the quorum is not present. Now, do you think this is correct? Definitely not. So this is also not the correct option. Moving to the last option, option D. The recommendation of the board of directors relating to the rate of dividend shall stand withdrawn. So no, this is also not the correct option. So the correct answer here is option A. अभी देखो, क्या हमें केस स्टडी पढ़ने की ज़रूरत पड़ी? नहीं, we were able to solve this question even without reading the case study. Now this does not mean that you are not going to read this case study or you are not going to look at the case study at all if a question requires. Let's move on to the next question. Question number 2. At which date the unpaid dividend not claimed by the shareholders shall be transferred to a separate bank account? Now all of you know that a company, when it declares dividend, it has to pay dividend to the shareholders within 30 days. Within 30 days the dividend has to be paid. 30 days of what? 30 days of declaration of dividend. Abhi, if there is some unclaimed amount, even after the expiry of 30 days, there's some amount which remains unclaimed. That is, which is not claimed by any of the shareholders. Then in that situation, this unclaimed amount shall be transferred to a separate bank account. Within how many days? Within 7 days after the expiry of 30 days. 7 days is after the expiry of 30 days within which the dividend has to be paid to the shareholders. So in this situation, if you look at the options which have been given to you, they've specifically stated the date, and besides it, which date are they talking of? So 5th August 2020, it is the date of board meeting. No, this is not the correct date. Date of meeting of shareholders? No. The date after 30 days from the meeting of shareholders? No, this is also not correct. Within 7 days from the date of expiry of 30 days. Yes, this is the provision, and the correct option is option D. Moving on to the next one. The company transferred the amount of unpaid dividend to a separate bank account on 15th October 2020. What was the date when the company actually had to transfer the amount? It was 7th of October. But there is a delay. The company actually transferred the amount on 15th of October. So there is a delay of some 8 days. Now the question asks, what is the interest liability on the part of the company? Now you all know that if there is a delay on the part of the company to transfer the amount within 7 days, then the company will have to pay certain amount as interest. Now what is the percentage? It is 12%. यहाँ पे again, if you look at the options, एक ही option 12% वाला, and the correct option is option C. Interest at the rate of 12% per annum on so much of the amount which is not being transferred to the unpaid dividend account. So if you look at this, क्या हो रहा है? We have not even read the case study even once, and we were able to answer 3 questions out of 4. Let's look at the 4th one and see if we are able to answer it or not. In the given case, when and how much amount the company shall transfer the funds to the Investor Education Protection Fund. So after how many years the amount has to be transferred to the Investor Education Protection Fund? It is after 7 years. Right? So यहाँ पे कौन सा सही रहेगा ऑप्शन? Option D. Let's have a look at the second question. Amber Limited is a manufacturer of glassware. Its paid up share capital is divided into 2 lakh shares of rupees 100 each. The company is maintaining its register of members as per the provisions of Companies Act 2013. The company wants to close its register of members for declaring dividend. It may do so by giving minimum how many days notice. So कितने दिन का notice देना पड़ता है when the company wants to close its register of members for declaring dividend? The answer here is 7 days. Let's go to the next one. Dash interpretation concerns itself with what the law says, and dash interpretation seeks to ascertain what the law means. So first we'll see which which one talks about what the law says and which one talks about what the law means. So what the law says is grammatical interpretation, and what the law means is talked about in logical interpretation, wherein you're ascertaining कि law actually क्या बोलना चाहता है, तो वो होगा logic, wherein you're trying to find out the logic behind law. But when you are only concentrating on what it is saying, you are grammatically interpreting it. So the answer here is option A, grammatical and logical. Moving on to the question 4. Arvind lends money to Mamta against security of jewelry deposited by Mamta with Arvind. Arvind gave this jewelry to his friend Vinayak, who had a safe locker at his home. Who is the pawner in the given case? So who is the pawner? This is from pledge. So who is the pawner? Pawner in the given case is Mamta. Why Mamta? Because who is a pawner? Pawner is a person who gives things. He is the bailer. If we compare it with bailment, he is the bailer who is pledging his property. And whose jewelry is being given as security here? It is Mamta's jewelry. So pawner in this given case is Mamta. So the correct option here is option B. Moving on to the last MCQ. Raman, the original allottee of 2000 equity shares in ABC Limited, has transferred the same to Ruchi. The instrument of transfer dated 21st August 2020, duly stamped and signed by Raman, was handed over to Ruchi. Advise Ruchi regarding the latest date by which the instrument of transfer along with the share certificate must be delivered to the company to register the transfer in its register of members. So what is the last date up to which Ruchi shall file all the documents, that is the transfer deed and the share certificate? Till which date does she have to file these documents with the company so that the transfer is registered in the register of members of the company? So कितना time होता है उसके पास? 2 months. So last date comes to 28th October 2020. So this is the date by which Ruchi shall deposit all the documents with the company. Which is it? 20th October 2020. So with this, we've completed all the MCQs. I'll come back with the descriptive question and answers in some time. Keep studying. All the best.